Travis Wayne Goodsall. This video is not for the newbies. If you're new, you're way behind. I've been doing this since the beginning of the latter days. 8.8K plus videos. And so you can listen, but just understand you're not going to understand any of it. Because we're supposed to be Jewish, as being from Joseph Smith with the Book of Mormon. As such, the Book of Mormon was written in the learning of the Jews, which is prophecy, predictions of the future, from 6th of April, 1830, with days and hour revelations. I cannot review everything about this. So, this is for those who have been following. Joseph Smith obviously is human. Joseph Smith, being the founder, is the Jewish Christ, Messiah ben Joseph. And if you ran the test, you would know that I am the human, just like Joseph, who is the latter-day Christ, Messiah ben David Moses. Told you you'd be behind. Thus, the false prophet, the false Christ, or Lucifer, as he is also called, is likewise a human. None of these people are supernatural. This was the learning of the Jews. Christians got it wrong. Christianity is the great and abominable church. And yeah. So the revelations are all the same, referring this video is not going to be put up until tomorrow, but apparently the guy has been stalking me all day waiting for me to do a video. Dear God. Anyway, they all give you the same dates. The Book of Mormon has all of them as well. 23rd September 2017 is when I started my ministry to Mormons for the latter days. The birth sign, as it's also referred to. There are 3 main solar eclipses for the latter days, because they form the first and last letters of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet script. The A on its side, and the 2 X's for the 2 crossroads. And so those happened over the United States of America. 21st of August 2017, 14 October 2023, and 8 April 2024. All Jewish prophecies and revelations are in accordance with these dates. There may be others that can be dualisms, like my life growing up. But for the most part, it all refers to the latter-day time period. So the Book of Mormon even gives us the date of the Exodus, which is had in the Bible, but you got to know the Book of Mormon to figure it out. That's 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. It's the year 2020 when I turned 50 for the Jubilee year of the Jews. as the sacrifice of Isaac was the sign in the heavens for that prediction of the future. Used, and it can't explain. You're behind. I'm already going overtime tonight, hoping that this will be a 30-minute video. Hoping, but we'll see. And so, the various stories are specifically written. And so that's why many of them are supernatural. With the first creed of Christianity, they turned everything into literal history. So the more extreme supernatural were rejected from the Christian collection of Jewish scriptures that they called the Bible, turning them into literal histories and thus in chronological order and screwing everything up. And so, for example, Samson, he starts as a young child battling the lion, kills it. That's a death. Samson is son king, Emmanuel. And so the 21st of August 2017 was a solar eclipse at the Regulus star in Leo, the lion. That's how they wrote their prophecies and gave you the revelation days and hours. The wife being burned, 14th of October 2023. Annular eclipse, the ring of fire, in Virgo, the woman. And then Samson dying with the Philistines at the temple of the Philistines. This is a little difficult without the help of Revelation chapter 19, verses 11, 17, and all discussions of the Lamb. 8 April 2024. The solar eclipse on the back of the white horse, and the Lamb, Jupiter, from Revelation chapter 12, the 23rd of September 2017, is now in Aries, the Ram-Lamb constellation. Thus, Abraham sacrificing Isaac, and a ram appears with messenger Mercury. 8 April, 4 CE, annular eclipse over Russia, which also is fascinating because of who was used to put Zedekiah on the throne of America in 2017. Yet Zedekiah still denies it to this day, despite putting out the call. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you can find. And Junior meeting with a Russian, regardless of whether she's a lawyer or a spy, she's still Russian at the tower. And Paul Manafort's selling the Facebook data to Russia. Yep, nothing there, nothing to see here, just like the Jeffrey Epstein files. They lie. And so another example that I was reminded of today was Daniel. In the book of Daniel, there's a story of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, who are thrown into the fiery furnace. Angels appear. Angels standing in the fire. Revelation 19. Solar eclipses. 3. Ta-da! Thus, I don't recommend thinking you have enough faith to get burned and not die. But somehow Christians thought that that was realistic enough to have the book of Daniel. Okay. So yes, the Book of Mormon likewise has these same dates for the latter days. And because of the accuracy of the Jews, that is also in the Book of Mormon for the dates. 23rd of September happened. All 3 solar eclipses happened. The Exodus year happened. And it's only because of Oaks that we didn't find out until the end of last year that it was just going to be a test run. Nelson purposely delayed it at the last minute. And as a result of that, all these years since 2021, I was left wondering what the hell happened. And in 2023, I began doing 9/11 countdowns. And comedy ensued. Right, Nelson? How art thou fallen, O Russell Marion, son of the morning. And then again, on a Jewish 9/11, right after Thanksgiving, I did a 6-hour video series that year because Nelson brought out, we'll come back to you, Section 85's prophecy, claiming Brigham Young's version of it is the fulfillment. But he doesn't refer to Section 85. He instead says it's proof that Section 119 is true. No. No. The book of the law is here in 85. It is not in Section 119. God, so illiterate, and they treat Mormons as illiterates. Nobody's going to watch the church news during Thanksgiving. And yet, they still put it out as a lie, just in case. And so, the Jewish Christ, from Deuteronomy 18, verse 15, the one mighty and strong, as he's called here, he's the one who has the keys to set in order the temple. Brigham Young botched it bigly. Not just with Section 119, but the abomination of desolation of the Greeks. To arrange by lot the inheritances of the saints in Zion. We're still waiting. Whose names are found. This is the numbering. The names of their fathers and their children. The book of Numbers has the listing of the families and the numbering of them. It is the prophecy for the book of the law in the latter days. That those who are righteous to go to Zion are numbered and are given an inheritance with this book of the law. And I've already done the videos about how it will work whenever the church finally figures out how to get Jesus to show and burn everybody to death. And so there's the false prophet, Nelson, verse 8. And so in 2024, I also did a countdown for 9th Ave. That ended up being the Elijah versus the priests of Baal fulfillment. Jesus never showed. I showed. And I poured water all over the altar, and then I struck it with my lightning bolt and burned the Thule temple. And this year I did it again with the Syracuse temple. Yeah. 4th of July altered his schedule yet again. And Mormons are incapable of leaving me alone to worship my religion as Jewish, of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon as Jewish. This is the evil hatred of Lucifer. Mormons keep proving it every single time. That's why if you're new, I warn you, you're not going to understand. Because if you think you know it all, you don't, and then you're going to do or say something criminal or wicked to prove you don't know and you're of the church of the devil, Lucifer. Evil never gets it. Maybe they don't care to get it. So in section 63, Satan putteth it into your hearts to anger against me and to the shedding of blood. This pattern, Joseph Smith and me. Wherefore the land of Zion shall not be obtained but by purchase or by blood. Otherwise there is no inheritance for you. And if by purchase, behold, you are blessed. And if by blood, as you are forbidden to shed blood, innocent blood, your enemies are upon you, and ye shall be scourged from city to city, and from synagogue to synagogue. That's Jewish. What's that doing in here, Joseph? We have churches for Christians. But few shall stand to receive an inheritance. So yeah, that's the tricky part, is that the wicked in section 84, section 45 in the Doctrine and Covenants, warns that if you're not in Zion, you're going to have to take up the sword to defend your life and survive. And this is what I worry about. If the final four does not happen, all is lost. But if the first happens, but not the second, all is still lost. The final four that I refer to is the fall of the great and abominable church. If the fall of the United States of America only happens, which it's well underway, the church gets their kingdom and all is lost. Mormons don't know the danger they're in thinking that the church is true. They don't understand the evils that are planned for this church's Zion. In 1 Nephi 22 and 14, it seems to be where Joseph Smith got this part. In verse 33, that because of the wicked shall slay the wicked, and fears shall come upon every man, and the saints also shall hardly escape, and will come down and consume the wicked with unquenchable fire. That is the Christianized version of the abomination of desolation, which Joseph Smith's second vision explains that Christians are going to cause this. They that come shall burn you. So the wicked shall slay the wicked shall burn the wicked. And so it's important that we get to Zion before this event happens, or all is lost, like the Book of Mormon warns over and over and over. Everybody gets utterly destroyed because of wickedness, neglecting the poor. And this is the warning voice. I had read over some of M. Russell Ballard's talks, trying to find one particular talk, which was the Old Ship Zion. Should have looked there first. Anyway, I had found where he talks about how missionaries are supposed to raise the warning voice, but he didn't explain. He says, we present the Book of Mormon, which is the fullness of the gospel of the coming of Jesus to the ancient American people. And we need to raise the warning voice. Warning? Jesus came to America. Be warned. He doesn't explain what the warning is. They can't. Nonetheless. Yeah, they don't put the link. They have 2nd Nephi 20, or 28, but there's a marvelous work and a wonder. Of captivity. Yeah, here it is. Verse 13. Behold, and the blood of that great and abominable church, which is the whore of all the earth, Babylon, shall turn upon their own heads, for they shall war among themselves. And the sword of their own hands shall fall upon their own heads, and they shall be drunken with their own blood. That suggests to me that Mormons are going to do battle with Mormons, or shall we say Mormons against ex-foes. However, I'm not seeing anybody care that the church is filthy rich and getting the whole state of Utah to be run by them, as Trump is handing it over. But neither is any other state by the deep state Dems. It's only after they come in and deport people and cut funding and fire people in the federal government that all of a sudden they're like, hey, what are you doing? It's too late then. Too late. So, 9th Ave. Today, when I post it tomorrow, is the 17th of Tammuz. The 17th of Tammuz has a lot of Jewish tradition and actual historical events that took place. Jewish tradition comes from the Jewish scriptures, but because Constantine with the First Creed turned it literal history, the Jews believed it when they made their biblical Hebrew text and botched it. But nonetheless, this is when the golden calf, the idol god, was offered to the Israelites by Aaron of the lesser priesthood. And Moses smashes the first tablets, and they were having orgy sex. If you knew the pattern of the abomination of desolation, you'd see that that's what it was referring to, the Greek abomination that took place, that Brigham Young patterned to a T. Then you have the sacrifices stopping in Solomon's temple in 586 BCE. Babylon has breached the walls and are about to burn and destroy the temple on 9th Ave. And then the walls of Jerusalem were breached during the Roman period of time in 70 CE, right before 9th Ave, when Rome again would destroy it. And so the statue god of Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel talks about getting the kingdom back, but is written during the Qumran community time period, if not a little later, in which the Jerusalem temple was already destroyed by the Romans, but not before the creation of Christianity. So as you go down, you have Rome, or Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome for the legs of iron, and then you have feet, iron of Rome mingled with clay. Who came after Rome? Constantine, the Roman emperor, creating Christianity, the clay. What happens to the feet of iron mingled with clay? Shattered. Protestant Reformation. And thus, they're also giving you the time frame for when the religion would be restored after Babylon took them hostage. So it too is a prophecy of the latter days. Like I told you, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. The author knew all about it. Knew that it would be America, knew that it would be Joseph Smith. So, there are 3 different types of 9/11s. One is the day first, then year, or month, and then month first, then day. We know 9/11 as September 11th, month first, then day. And that has also been the case in American history as well as church history. We have 9/11, 1826, which was the birth of the Book of Mormon. Without that event in Canandaigua, New York, with Joseph Smith Sr., we wouldn't have had the church, we wouldn't have had the Book of Mormon. It would have been published under a different name, and there would have been no organization. There might have been a group that got together for a book club type thing, but we don't know. Never happened because of 9/11, 1826 in Canandaigua, New York, with Joseph Smith Sr. as the master mason of the lodge. And I'm disgusted with Mormons who've tried to cover this up by denialism. Oh, we don't know. Yeah, we do. It's an established fact. You purposely lied to deceive anybody else who wants to study that and do the research, but don't know how to do research like I do. So, you have the Jewish calendar, which is religious and civil combined together. And with 9th Ave, it's the 9th day of Av, which is the 11th month. That is the inverse of the 9/11 that we know in English. There is precedent for this in the 5 books of Moses, or attributed to Moses, even though it's not Moses. The author of the book of Genesis designated month first, then day. So 9/11 would be the Genesis author. The Exodus author is day and month. This is important to understand when reading your prophecies with the revelations, is that the Exodus author is referring to a 9th Av, whereas the Genesis author is referring to a 9/11. Leviticus is month and day like Genesis. That is the priestly rituals, requirements of the priesthood of Aaron and the Levites. Numbers, which I already told you was for section 85, is day and month. And notice chapter 12, verse 6. The same with Exodus, about Moses, the Jewish Christ of the latter days, for 2020. Exodus and Numbers is 9th Av. Deuteronomy, the law, is back to 9/11, month and day. But this is where you have the Jewish Christ, the man like Moses, in chapter 18, verse 15, and in the 10 Commandments, that he is the only one. When the Jews talk about the Messiah, that's who they're talking about, the man like Moses. He is referred to in the 10 Commandments. And thus, why there's a Sabbath day is because the Qumran community wrote the book of Deuteronomy. And so I've already fixed this picture that I had to transfer over because I was doing a video on Alma chapter 16 that uses day and month, just like Exodus and Numbers for 9th Av. And that's what I am curious about, because the Book of Mormon is an Exodus pattern throughout the whole Book of Mormon. Exodus story after Exodus story after Exodus story all the way through. And Numbers, counting. People are going, why is there so many dead? You think it's literal history, and Expo never mows, mock and laugh. No, there couldn't have been that many. Especially to have new people come up in a relatively short period of time. That's not what it's about. Stop it. And so this is why I'm concerned that something is up for 9th Ave this year. And I don't know if by doing this video I'm going to ruin it. Because there's the Mormon who's stalking me, but also the Strengthening Church Members Committee are specifically assigned to stalk me and return and report to the First Presidency about my videos. And again, I don't have time to rehash all of this. We're trying to wind it down here. You don't know, you're new, so what the hell are you doing not believing and denying instantly, hastily? So, 9th Ave is the 3rd of August. Tomorrow is the 21st day until. I already got the countdown set up. And so, yes, the picture that will be used for this thumbnail video will be the one used for the next 21 days for the countdown, as I've previously done. And the reason why I am concerned is because of the final 4 that are necessary. If 9th Ave is the destruction of the church, then it's the fall. 1 Nephi 22. Great shall be the fall thereof, that I read to you. But there needs to be a transfer to me, the church, all of the documents, all of the membership records, all of the contacts for all of the bishops and stake presidents around the whole world, as well as all the money, must be transferred to me so that I can do the Exodus. Because if the fall of the church happens and there is no public known transfer to me, Mormons will be lost. They won't know what to do. You'll have Mormons who will say they know what to do. Follow them. And then you get Chad Daybells and Lori Vallows and Brian David Mitchells and other false Christs who are not the fulfillment, who have not the gifts like I have demonstrated all these years. But yes, you see this in the warnings of the prophecies of the house of Israel and others who don't believe and don't follow and cause problems and try to usurp the authority. And for example, in Numbers 12:6, Miriam and Aaron try to coup Moses. Not just some of the house of Israel who rebelled and wanted to go back to Egypt, like Laman and Lemuel also wanted to go back to Jerusalem. And sure enough, Nephi tells them about Moses and the house of Israel. There's a reason for that pattern. And so yes, Mormons who, obviously they're new. They don't know me. And so all of a sudden the church falls. What do they do then? What do you mean everything's been transferred to Travis? Who is he? Why should we follow him? You don't. You don't have to. I'm not going to force you. That's the whole thing that I talked about with the book of the law and how that will be done. And so then the Exodus. And we have to hurry before the abomination of desolation caused by Christians. So, I do worry. But if the fall of the church is 9th Ave, then the big destruction comes after. Dear God, this is why I hope I'm not ruining things. Because if they decide to drop the nukes first before the church falls, or the church falls with the fall of the world, all is lost. Because there won't be any need for money at that point. Money all of a sudden becomes worthless. Yet you'll still have people in denial and thinking that they can go rob banks and steal, and it's stupid. Money is worthless when the world is at war. Especially with our digital currency, or cloud currency, which isn't even real. I mean, seriously, with digital currency, there is no hard backing behind it, and so all you need to do is type in the amount of money you want to have. Of course, you have to be at the top in leadership to do that kind of a stunt. And it's just absurd. Anyway, but at least our federal government at least puts on appearance that there's some control over monetary systems. But nonetheless, Zion is dependent upon no economy. And I've done those videos explaining that for you. And how Section 119 is just abominable. That's the best word for it. And so, anything other than the church falling first and then transferring publicly to me is an utter failure that everybody should be concerned about. And apparently nobody is, because nobody believes. They're waiting for Jesus to do everything for them. And so, like Pharaoh and the Egyptians handed over loot to the Israelites, so too must the church, if not the United States, fund our exodus to get Mormons who want to come to Zion from around the whole world. These are my keys. I've already demonstrated them in 2020. And here I am, in advance, demonstrating them again. Because the church, with the keys of Peter, James, and John, tell Mormons to stay where they are, and that converting to the church is the big gathering of Moses. That Peter's keys is for the kingdom rule. And everybody has to pay the church. I mean the kingdom, I mean Jesus, for his free atonement. I just, seriously, if Mormons aren't pure evil knowingly, it means that Mormons are the dumbest people on the face of the earth. Because the Church of Jesus Christ is a bigger con than Constantine, even though Constantine has gone on for exactly 1700 years, right now. And the Pope is quiet about it. Dear God, new Pope. And I said last, I'm not repeating stuff. Not going to repeat. We're wrapping it up here. We're done. 9th Ave. And so that's that with that. This church does not belong to it. It belongs to me. And so hang on, guys, because it's a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And so that's why I'm curious about Trump on Friday, claiming he's gonna really do the tariffs this time on August 1st. He won't taco out again. Although he did do a few this time around. But it wasn't the big thing that he threatened. He caved yet again. Alrighty, So I am curious about the sign in the heavens on that day. I guess we can go over that. So I'll have to put that in. So remember, the fall of the church for 9th Ave, as the Book of Mormon sets it up for Babylon, not Rome. Solomon, it is Solomon Spaulding, did another version for Rome. That's the one we know of. And so that was on his mind too. Excuse me. But nonetheless, his original one that Sidney Rigdon got a hold of because he died was Babylon. And the Jaredites, even though I think it was the Lehites in his book, according to Mormonism Unveiled, with the people that knew about the original book that never got published because he died. But nonetheless, and so knowing that that's when the destruction of Babylon or Jerusalem happened, was 9th Ave, and all the other dates given by the Book of Mormon are very clear. The Jews, however, have different authors using different time frames, different cultures, whether it's Greece, Rome, Philistines, Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, Persia. And so they don't all use 9th Ave in the story. It's all alluded to. But the Book of Mormon is consistent. The destruction is 9th Ave for Exodus and Numbers. Thus, the transfer so that we can have an Exodus with the Book of the Law numbering the house of Israel who come to Zion. That's why I'm deeply curious but concerned that 9th Ave is up for the church. But it's Sunday. I am unaware of any activities by the federal government to do a shutdown on Sunday. Normally you'd have it on Friday after the stock market. Sometimes on Saturday they'll do stuff. You know, if they need to, they'll go in and bust somebody on Sunday. But to shut down a whole criminal operation, that usually not done on Sunday. It would make more sense to do it while the prophets are there at the administration building. Like on Thursdays at 10 a.m. when they have their weekly meeting. And so, you know, maybe it is that higher power behind the curse of Joseph Smith, that he will do his own thing, as section 63 also suggested, not just the wicked destroying each other, but something from outer space. Or is it just Musk's satellite or Russia's satellite? Nonetheless, so you've got Nelson as Mars at the head of the church, the woman, Virgo. Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. Shouldn't have to repeat this. And yet it does seem to suggest that Trump is going to be the one to cause the fall of the church. Because the sun, for government, is there with Mercury, Trump, at the front of the crab constellation, Cancer. And for that, you need to know your Genesis story of the serpent and how the Christ of the latter days crushes the head of the serpent. Now, if this is the fall of the church and nation, oh crap, we're all doomed. But if it's Trump who's doing the biting on the church, as Nelson is at the head, then this would make a little more sense. Because Venus, the great and abominable church, the whore, bride of Lucifer, Mars, is at the heel of the dead brother of Gemini, the mortal brother who dies. And there Achilles, the Achilles heel, the serpent biting the heel, the Christ crushing the head, and Jupiter is right there between the two, between life and death. So the rest, well, you have Saturn on the back of the white horse still, at the tail of the sea serpent dragon in Pisces. But the rest are falling stars. You have the Cygnids at the mouth of Draco the dragon. The fiery darts of the adversary. The breathing of fire. You also have one at Perseus, the Perseids, the third eye, prophesying of the fall of the great and abominable church. Medusa, the whore, serpent head, hair, just having a bad hair day. And then you've got 5 falling stars in the High Priest constellation of Aquarius. Yep. 2 at the feet, 2 at the inner thigh, and 1 at the hand. Yep. So very interesting. But again, the church won't fall unless a majority falls, because then the 12 cannot form a quorum to conduct business, to appoint or lay their hands upon the next successor. Now, they'll lie to Mormons and do it anyway. But like I said, it needs to be a complete fall that Mormons know very well it fell, so that all Mormons are going to be concerned, oh no, now what's going to happen? Travis who? You chose not to run the test. You look beyond the mark. You're looking for Jesus when I was right here the whole time. And so yes, this is what we're expecting and anticipating, because everything else has been fulfilled. All the dates have come to pass. We're waiting for this final 4. And Oakes said we're extending it to right now. So here we go. This is it, because Oakes said so. And so 9th Ave, August 3rd. think that is it. I was loving having no problems with the camera. Bastard. Alrighty. 200-year-old plot, huh? So, yeah, there's some stuff I never did get to. Alrighty.